In transits, it's Tuesday, October 3rd, 8:46 a.m. And we are in a new transit. We are in gate I didn't even look up. We're in gate 48.1 and 21.1. I was looking at the old transits. Well, depth. So we're in the spleen again. This last transit was 18, which is also in the spleen. It was actually at the bottom of the spleen going towards the root. And gate 48 is the well. It's the top of the spleen. Depth going up towards the throat. It's the necessary and qualitative function that is a prerequisite to establish the common good. So I understand gate 48 as the splenic fear that something is faking or lacking depth, right? And so line 1, insignificance, an instinctive recognition of what is practical and deserves attention, a taste for recognizing what is practical and deserves attention. Detriment is an ego tendency to apply energy to trivial considerations, a taste for trivia, right? So, and this is again, this is a how do you say a spectrum? It's not always black and white, and you're not always going to land on extreme ends, although you might. Like for instance, myself, I have gate 48. Which line is it in? Real quick, and we'll see. I have gate 48. Oh, that's Aurora, my daughter. I was like, do I not have gate 48? In my Jupiter. And it's in 48.3. But anyway, 48.1, and it's actually locked in, okay, so this is a cool example. So 48.1 right now is locked in exaltation. It's locked with the arrow up. Hopefully you guys can see my screen. See how it's got a gold arrow? We fixed the issue with not knowing whether the transit was fixed because of itself or not fixed because of itself. So 48 connects to gate 16 in the throat. And right now, the moon is in gate 16. And line 1 is locked into exaltation by the moon. So if the moon was in 48 or the moon was in gate 16, that would lock 48 into exaltation. So here what we have is, because of this moon in gate 16, we have a taste for recognizing what is practical and deserves attention. So again, this is the tendency of the collective is what this is. The collective is going to focus on recognizing what is practical and what deserves attention. So you are invited to do that. And you are also invited to understand the context in which you are able to do that. Similarly to, when you're in a relationship or when you're with another person, there's things that you can do with another person that you can't necessarily do alone. And it's not because you're inept or incapable or stupid or ignorant. It's simply, it's circuitry. It's a physics equation, right? So one thing that's really important to do is to look up whether or not you have gate 48, right? Because your relationship with gate 48, for me, it's a generally consistent relationship. I have this desire, and for me, it's incommunicado. Development of taste is a long-term process. Tendency in a long-term process to develop anxiety. I do have this fear that the things that I'm doing do not actually have a depth, or I do have a sense with others of are you faking depth? I can usually tell who's putting that front on. And so if you have 48, right, I have gate 48 in transit, have the channel open, right? Then it means that this is going to flavor everybody else's auras, right? And you'll be able to get to see something that's maybe consistent for you if you have gate 48 in everybody else. And maybe and one of the good practices I have with now that since I've been tracking the transits is kind of gearing conversations around the transits, and not necessarily directly about the transits, but just asking questions like, "Hey, are you afraid that what you're doing doesn't have any depth to it? Or are you afraid that the person that you're connecting with right now is like lacking any depth? And just seeing where the person goes with it, because some people are really defensive, like no, definitely not at all. Some people are very open to it and excited about it, and that for me again, of course, tells me a lot about moving forward the relationship with them. 48 is completing my 16 channel, but I don't have 48 on my own. Cool. So, you know, holographic bagel, you're seeing right, you're seeing a transit channel. You're seeing your part of you get hooked up in a way that is not necessarily normally hooked up, right? So you typically, without 48, some of the power skills or the stuff that you're mastering may not necessarily have the depth, right? It may not have just in your normal day to day. And so what you're looking at is the opportunity to discover maybe some of the deeper whys around some of the skills that you are developing, which I mean makes sense that you did this like wild meditation earlier. Because now, again, that's like very awareness driven, depth discovering stuff, like deep contemplative meditations, right? And so it's in my son. Maybe that's why I'm feeling good right now. Possibly. It's that's the thing is there's no real telling how it's going to feel, other than that it's going to be revealing as to your relationship with this gate, right? So I'm going to find this other one, 21, which is biting through. Hunter Huntress. Good point, Coco. Yes, you're welcome, my friend. Which this is another one that I have. It's the fear of inadequacy, logically inept, not having the solution needed to address the survival logically, right? So it's like 48 provides the awareness, and then 16 provides the skills, right? Yeah, and so this is a part of logical our logical collective circuit, right? Life force, that's that side, left side. Yeah, makes sense. Sweet. Logically inept, right? So in terms of depth, right? It's not just about meaning. Then it's also about right, like trivial and meaningful, right? One thing might seem meaningful, and the other thing is actually practical. The other thing is like actually necessary to survive, right? Because again, we're in the spleen, so we're talking about survival. Um, which that's probably another thing that uh, is going to come up, like has come up for me actually just last night, is am I going to have enough money to pay next month's rent, because rent is going up for me? Am I going to have enough money to buy food, because food prices are going up? And so that's definitely that's something that has been in my field of these questions of if I'm capable to figuring out the things that I need to figure out so that we can, as a family, thrive and survive. So, anyway, gate 21, biting through. So, this is where the earth is, and it's the justified and necessary use of power in overcoming deliberate and persistent interference. Which I remember this one from the I Ching, because biting through, it's like if you look at the actual hexagram of it, it's like a line at the top, a line at the bottom, and then all broken lines in the middle. So it's like this mouth. Um, and line one is warning. It's the use of force as a last resort, the fierceness to be respected without recourse in action, the willpower and ego to ensure respect. Detriment is an inherent peacefulness that all too often turns a necessary warning into a plea, a lack of willpower that is forced to ask for respect. Fight through. Right? So, this again, transit energy. So, someone might use this energy to demand something to ensure respect with the detriment, or with the exaltation, and that could be to their detriment because they're not following their strategy and authority. That same person could use the detriment of this gate, which is a lack of willpower that is forced to ask for respect, and instead that turns out to be an exalted form, or provide an exalted result for them because they were asking for respect, and didn't really, like, the situation didn't call for them needing to demand and ensure respect, right? So this is one thing again about the transits. It's like not all exaltations are good and not all detriments are bad, and in fact, good and bad are almost invariably and inevitably yielding to each other. What's good, like, you fall off a horse, you break your leg. Oh, great, or terrible, right? Yeah, maybe now you don't get to go to the war and die with everyone else. That's good, maybe, because then you're not at the war. You come back, all your friends come back, and you lose your friends. You never got to say bye to them. That's bad, maybe. You know what I mean? So it's one of these things where it's like, what is the most appropriate thing to do for this reality, for this situation here? What's the most appropriate course of action? And naturally, you have your strategy and authority. Awesome. I always think about that meme whenever I say that, where, like, the person's drowning, and then they're like, help me with human design. And someone's like, follow your strategy and authority. And they high five them as they're going down into the water. That's awesome. Speaking of which, I made hella memes last night, which was really fun. And I'm excited to share them, because some of them are so brutal, and but also so basic. It's just like, it's really interesting to see how, and I wrote a post the other day too about how, they're going to look back at human design generations from now, or decades from now, I'll say, and they'll be like, that was the thing that woke so many people up to their conditioning and woke them up to living their true selves. And we're like ahead of the curve, guys. We're like very ahead of the curve, in my opinion. Like, Rob Roth is through in the 80s. If any of you were there for the AMA last week, we had Life Force there, who dropped a document about the history, right, of human design. And this is like relatively novel stuff. Very, very novel stuff. I feel old and behind the curve most days. Well, I'm here to tell you that you're ahead of the curve. Like, you think about it, like, how many people are tuning in to transit reports right now? How many people in the world are doing that compared to how many people in the world are scrolling mindlessly on Instagram or TikTok looking for the next dopamine hit, right? Or, like, just like, think about the contrast. So a lot of us in here, we are, which, yeah, TikTok got me here weirdly, which is awesome. And TikTok got me here, which is weirdly awesome as well. But the one thing that it's like, I think about, right, is that, again, with Gate 48, like, where is the actual depth? Where is the actual value and practicality in something? And what deserves attention, right? What actually deserves attention? And the one thing that I've been finding with being able to relate to y'all, and being in this, more form style open chat, as opposed to TikTok, where it's just me pumping out content and people consuming my content, is that I'm starting to create a better connection to the collective, which I personally have not always had a great connection to the collective. I looked at the world and humans as a bunch of ignorant sheep people, and it was disgusting, and I was disgusted by them. And Reiki was the thing that kind of like brought me into a deeper understanding and appreciation, and human design now even more so, because it's like a baby doesn't know when it's doing something quote unquote dangerous or wrong, right? And so to punish a child for not having the skills to do something that they haven't developed the skills to do, well, what does that say about me, right? And so a lot of my anger and disappointment with the human race has been transmuting over the years into, like, now I'm just so surprised and so happy and really satisfied with, like, I know I'm not gonna like wake up everybody, but like some of y'all were literally just like on TikTok one day and you found me, and I made the decision to like give people access to me in this form, because I really want to, again, like, heal my relationship with the collective. This is some new shit that's coming through me, which is cool. I want to heal my relationship with the collective, and that demands that I kind of I narrow down the amount of the collective that I'm able to interact with. And you guys are that narrowing down. So I'm really grateful for y'all guys. Being punished as a kid for not being taught by adults. Wait, I didn't ask for a call out at 3 a.m. So that's funny, but childhood trauma is, to me, is like, my childhood trauma is funny. There's an attitude towards it that leverages humor that's healthy, and then of course there's the one that avoids the root causes, which is unhealthy. Which is kind of hard for me to tell in a text, but the fact that you're continuing to show up is what's healthy, right? Because it's like you don't get sick overnight, and so you don't get better overnight either. And so one where you are coming into contact with the trauma and coming into contact with that energy and those shadows and those repressed feelings and emotions, if you just do that a little bit every day, eventually you get better, right? As opposed to, oh, I'm going to go drink medicine and I'm going to go have this big cathartic event and then I'm not going to change my ways. Like, I'd rather have someone that shows up every day and is disciplined and is willing to discipline themselves too, because discipline is a practice. It's doing something that's uncomfortable so that the uncomfortable thing becomes more comfortable to do, right? It's like you're strengthening a muscle with discipline, and part of this Discord has been inviting me to practice discipline in checking the transits, because I'll be honest with you guys, I was not checking the transits as often as I am now, knowing that some of y'all, and I missed a transit yesterday, which I don't necessarily feel bad about it, but I did feel the impact of it, right? And it made me want to come on here so much more, because I had that imbalance, and it was the awareness, or the temperaments that I have, not to be overly excited or overly critical of myself when I just take a step off the path. Like, right, it's October, sober October. Some people have made this commitment to be sober the entire month of October. And some people are going to take a step off of that intention. They're going to smoke a little weed or drink a little alcohol. And then because they took that one step, they're going to use that one step to justify, well, fuck it, I'm just going to totally leave my intention behind, right? Catastrophizing that, as opposed to taking a step off, recognizing yesterday was a 6-line day, good day to retreat from the spotlight. Makes sense. Yeah, so old face October is more fun, right? So taking a step off the path and then just taking a step back on the path, which today for me, that's me taking a step back on the path of, chi in transit is something that I commit to, not only for myself but also for my business and my brand, also for you guys, but ultimately it really is for myself, because having this warning, knowing, okay, my ego might demand respect today when it really just needs to ask, or it might ask for respect today when it really needs to demand it. Like, just having that awareness that there's this energy in the will, that there's this energy in the spleen again, that helps me a lot. It helps me in my decisions. It helps me with my interactions. It helps me with what I choose to post, which then turns into, my income. And anyway, feels good to be back, even though I've only been away a day. Because I'm telling you, I'm the type of person, like, I would make the commitment, I'm going to do sober October, and then I'll smoke a little bit of weed, and because I did that, now it's like, well, let me see how much of a fucking degenerate I can be this October, right? Rather than reconnecting with my intention. And the thing is, too, is you don't have to be sober to fulfill your intention. However, there is something to be said about not relying on external substances. Like, I used to smoke weed a lot, guys. I'll be honest with you. I used to smoke a lot of weed, and I used to make a lot of music. And since I've stopped smoking weed, and it's been about 3 or 4 months since I've been like regularly smoking, I smoked twice since in those 3 months. But again, just a foot off the path, and I don't have this like purist mentality about it because my intention really is to again heal my relationship with that medicine. And I haven't been making music, and it makes me super fucking sad, guys, that I haven't been making music, because normally what I would do is I would just come in here late night. I would also have Luke, my brother Luke, living with me now, which late night we're usually hanging out, whereas before I would just be alone making music. And he's away for the week at a Sacred Sons Convergence. So anyway, yeah, I realized how much I would use the herb as a means of bringing my creativity out, and I don't necessarily see the light at the end of the tunnel, but I've found other lights in other tunnels in terms of the way life is coming together, and I'm not worried. I'm not attached to it. You know, that's kind of where I'm at with it. Because I'm not like my career isn't built on me making music, which thankfully so, because I know that when it does come back, just like a season or a fruit that's been out of season and now it's time for that thing to sprout, um, sweet, I'm gonna enjoy it. I'm gonna like enjoy it. There's a season for everything. There's a season for harvesting. There's a season for planting, and I feel like I'm in a planting season right now. There's definitely some things that I'm harvesting, but it feels like a planting. So interesting, because I used to not be able to make music if I was smoking, so sober is the only way. Yeah, making music for me got real bad if I smoked. Again, we're all different, you know? And one thing I know that about myself too is that I would never smoke, or I really didn't like smoking before performances, because that would like trip me up. But in terms of jamming, it would just make me like super clever and super witty. Which now that I haven't been smoking, I've noticed that there's still that wit online. So it's kind of like showing myself that I have these qualities and that I don't need the substance, or I don't need the medicine. Um, and then it's also realizing that like the things that I think I need it for, I don't necessarily need it for. Isn't this what a reflector is? We aren't defined as one thing. Yeah, so I mean, like, being a reflector is kind of, for me, I'm defining myself in a way, right? But the fact that my way of doing things, um, it's like a longer rhythm. So, right, like, it's just like, for instance, there's like maybe one scene in the movie that I really, really like, but you have to watch the entire movie to really enjoy that one scene. That's kind of how I view reflectors, is like we're a little bit more zoomed out and zoomed in at the same time than the rest of the world. And finding, like, for instance, Ra would say that there's nothing original about a reflector. And for me, when I first heard that, it was like a little bit relief and a little bit like, oh, that sucks. Like, but I want to be original. I want to be unique in the world. However, my path as a reflector to uniqueness is, for me, it's been accepting, like, there's nothing unique. There's nothing unique about me. You, Reiki Mikao Usui, human design Ra Uruhu, biomechanics, functional patterns in Pasha. Like, I'm just like a fucking Frankenstein. You know what I mean? Um, but no one is put together just like me. No one has the amalgamation that I have. No one is the monstrosity that I am. And so, and the same thing for people with, definition. Um, is we are snowflakes of individuals, but it's not because we're original, right? Like, energy is neither created nor destroyed. Okay, right? Like, it's funny how in school you're punished for cheating and using the internet and being resourceful, but in the professional world you're rewarded for getting insider information from the it's really funny. Which there's different rules for different classes. You know what I'm saying? Like there's different rules for the enlightened and awakened class as there are the sleeping people. So I say I first started smoking weed last year. I had never been high before and struggled with a lot of anxiety and depression. It has helped me a lot. And I was wondering if it could also be helpful because I have an undefined head and ajna, perhaps, or something else. So one thing about having an undefined head and ajna that I've experienced marijuana being really helpful for is allowing ideas to come through without attaching them. Like for me, I would just get high with my buddies and we would freestyle rap. And I have an undefined head and ajna. So I'm like in their raps, ad-libbing their raps. When it's time for me to rap, I'm like, I don't even care what I'm saying. And so there's a level of detachment and again, lack of definition that happens for me when I would smoke with the undefined head and ajna. But it could also go the other way, right? Like it could also, for certain people with the undefined head and ajna, if the medicine makes it so that they're hyper open and their tendency is to compare themselves to other people. Well, that's where that paranoia and that energy kind of comes into play, right? So again, it's like everyone's chemistry is going to be a little bit different than another person. So you can't have a one size fits all. It's really about again looking at your experiences and determining whether or not those experiences are the result of your conditioning and automatic behaviors, or if they're a result of choosing. Called out strike two. So that's what I said this weekend, and I'm not like anyone you've met before. Damn, were you flirting, Tim? That sounds like a pretty flirtatious line. So that's another thing too, right? Is like in the world right now, there's this like excitement around knowing who you are, okay, and being awakened to all this stuff, right? So, for instance, one of the pressures from the world is to like know who you are so that you can tell your potential lover who you are so that they know who they're dealing with so that they can date. But like that's such like a bastardized mechanical like dry way of relating. Like what about the mystery of it? And that's one of the things that really excites people is the mystery of, oh, I don't know who you are. Right? I knew it, Tim. You fuck. Good for you. And that's one thing that, especially like as a reflectors or anyone, can be mysterious about it, and you're also being honest. So someone's like, "So tell me who you are. Tell me what you're like." And instead of saying, again, the insecure view of, "Oh, I don't really know who I am. I don't really know what I want. I don't." You just turn the Riz on, and you go like, "Look, I'm not like anyone you've ever met before. There's parts of me that I don't even know." Right? So it's the same information, but it's a different energy, right? And it's attuned to what it is that you actually want, right? And also what it is that's actually there, right? So the human design Riz is real. I might fucking make a class on the human design Riz, which I say that about so much stuff. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna have to close this up. Some things that I want to announce is I love you guys. Um, let's see what else. Oh, um, we are, and by we I mean Life Force and I, who has been in this chat or been in the chat for a little bit, are going to be announcing a very special course that we're going to do here in Discord, called Live Your Design, which we might change the name to like Evolve Your Design or something. Um, I didn't tell Ryan that, but I just told him now. But anyway, um, we're going to be running like a very special class. I think we're going to do about 20 people, and naturally, we're going to be giving this Discord like a pretty awesome discount. The server subscribers are going to get an even bigger discount, but we're going to take people through like some really deep dive stuff on human design, centers and conditioning, and then like how to actually live your design. And we'll be doing that in like Zoom call, like a separate Zoom call. So yeah, anyway, look forward to that because it's going to be our first kind of official class here from for the Discord community. That's kind of like specially tailored for the Discord community, because this is something that, again, and I was talking with Ryan about this, where you take a course and then you get this information, you get the knowledge, and then you never see the teacher again, you never see the other students again, right? And so what this is going to be, you already know the people, then the course opens up, we fill the seats up, and then once the course closes, we're going to actually have I'm going to make us a channel for like the first graduating class. Whoever was in that is going to get access to that special channel, and so we will further create more and more intimate containers with the people that take these classes together, and the intentions that they set together, the information that they get together. So be on the lookout for that. It's not going to be happening this month, but it will be happening soon. So we're really excited to share that with you guys. And then let's see, what else do we got? Yeah, server subscriptions are still available. Oh, I added the 2 new channels in the classes, healer and herbalist. So if you want to come talk about tea, or you want to come talk about Reiki, now there's channels for that as well as all the other channels. So okay, I think that's about it. Love you guys. I'll catch you tomorrow. I'll probably be going TikTok later, on TikTok live later, and I'll probably include you guys. But until then, I'll catch you later. Peace. Have a great day.